dudes? I'm the 370 and welcome back to my Java tutorial. Today we're actually going to go in here. We're just create another one. We're going to call it Tutorial 10. And we're going to talk about packages. Now this is interesting. Through create main class, I'm going to do something quickly. We're going to type in here tutorial10.main. tutorial10.main. I'll explain that in a bit. Basically, what this means is that rather than being named tutorial 10, this main class, we've discussed what that is last time, is just called main, like I prefer. Now we're going to figure out what this line does. Package tutorial 10. What does that mean? Well, you might see over here we have something called tutorial 10 here. This is called a package. Now, as a matter of fact, if we right-click on this, we can go New, Java Package, and we can call this one Package Thing for Tutorial. That is a bit of a long thing. Let's not use that. Tutorial Package. There we go. That's short enough. Now, what this is something else. Now, let's create a new Java class in here. Okay, we're going to call this one ball. We're just going to do ball. It's going to have a radius. It's going to have, that's about it. So let's create this class like we normally would. It's going to have this int radius. And we're going to also have public ball int radius. And we're also going to create some methods for and this dot radius equals radius. We're also going to do methods for volume and surface area, which we're going to have to open this up for. Volume of sphere. Okay, it's 4/3 pi r cubed. So we're going to do this. It's going to be a double because of the whole, so it's public double. Actually, I'm going to change this from int to double. And this to double. Just because. So we're going to put this public double. We're going to put this public and explain why that is important in a bit. We're going to call this one volume. This is going to be a method, and it is going to return. It's going to be a method that returns the same thing every time because of radius, but it's not going to be. But basically, it's going to return 4/3 times math dot. Now, pi. This is something that I'll explain in a little bit. Times math dot pow radius 3. Not explain what's happening here because this is just a small something. This basically is a constant for pi, and this is a method which basically does exponents. That's all you need to know. This is the base, this is the exponent. That's all you need to know here. It's basically multiplying 4/3 by pi by the radius to the power of 3. Simple. Let's throw in surface area. Okay, this works. 4 pi r squared. Is that it? Okay. That's good to know. So we're going to call this public double surface area with an A at the end there. I forgot. Somehow that did not get typed. I don't know how. Return 4 times math dot pi times math dot POW radius 2. Okay, my dad just randomly came in and said the Leafs won in a shootout, which, by the way, is worth interrupting this video about because it's amazing, because I don't think they've ever done that before. Randomly interrupting the video to bring that news to you. So, yeah, okay. Which is amazing. I am really excited right now, but I have a video to do. Anyway, so, yeah. So, comment on this. My enter key does bit that sometimes. Okay. Returns the volume of the ball. And we're going to do 4/3 pi r cubed. That's the best way to write it as a comment there. And we're just going to do the same sort of deal over here. Right, it needs the asterisk there. Turns the surface area of the ball 4 pi r squared. Yeah, that's basically what these are saying. Unnecessary in this case, but it's a good habit to get into to comment on this sort of thing. Now, here's something. Let's go into the main class. Let's try something. Ball. Let's try creating a ball. Ball equals new. Ball. Let's say 6.5 is the radius. It doesn't like that. Why doesn't it like that? Well, because it's in a different package. Remember when we were doing something like this? Import java.util.scanner was something you'd see up there. Remember when we did the click on this to add the import for it? Well, that's what this is asking for because it's in a different package. The java.util is the package for the class, which is scanner. Same thing with random. Now, there are specific things like you notice with string, you think, well, that's in a different package. I don't see it happening in this package that the main class is going into. Well, Java does some stuff. It automatically imports everything from the package, from this package, java.lang. This one has a lot of interesting stuff, including, as you can see, string. And also, as you see, I didn't import that math. Yeah, it's right here. It's just here. So, yeah, here's math. It's basically a class which contains static methods. I think I remember talking about those last week. Basically, they're methods that belong to the class, not the objects of the class. So now ball works, but let's try something. System.out.println. Radius. Why there's a space there, I don't know. Let's not put that there. And we can do ball dot. Wait, where's radius? Well, that's one of the interesting things about access modifiers, which is another thing I want to point out. Access modifiers. There's 4 levels. We're going to open up a notepad to talk about this. There's public, protected, no modifier, and private. I don't want to do that yet. Now, I believe these two are different. I just want to do a quick check just to make sure. No access modifier Java. Well, it says, okay, that made sense. Now, for now, these two have no difference. I will explain what their difference is in a future tutorial. But for now, for all intents and purposes, these make no difference. Private is quite interesting. Let's actually create another class in here. We're going to call it a class. Okay? It's just a random class. We're going to put a static method in here for no reason, just to test something. So we're going to put public static method. No, public static void method, and it's not going to have any arguments, and we're literally just going to see what we can do. We're going to do system.out out.println new. We're going to create a ball object in here. We're going to go to ball equals new ball, and we're going to do 78. I don't know. This one we didn't need to add import because, as you can see, they're in the same package. So we don't need to add the import. They're in the same package. As well, we're going to do ball.radius. It works. Why it works? Because this has no modifier. Right now, all we care about is protected and no modifier basically mean the same thing for right now. It's only visible to other classes within the same package and, of course, itself. But here's another one. Let's try private. A class can't access it anymore. Let's try another one, public, which also starts with P, so I'm just not going to. This is okay, but now in main, we can do this. But we might not want to. You want to know why? Watch this. I can do that. A ball, we can't just suddenly make a ball have a greater radius. That makes no sense. So, well, here's something we can do to fix this. We can set this to private, and then we can set it to private, and then it can really change in here. And we use a method to and we use something called a getter method. We could do public double get radius, and then we do return radius. We can do that, or we don't do that, and we do final. I remember talking about final earlier. This final keyword here basically means that once this is set, it can't be changed. And you think, well, it's not setting it in the same line. Well, that's because we're setting it with the constructor. It's okay to, if a field is set to final, it is okay to not set it on the same lines being declared on, but you have to set it in the constructor. If it wasn't constructed in the constructor, if that line did not exist, it would have an error because, as it says here, variable radius might not have been initialized. We know it's definitely not initialized, but yep, pretty much it's saying basically radius has to be initialized in the constructor because it's final. And this means this doesn't work anymore. Ball.radius equals 7. Why? Can't assign a value to a final variable. Boom. And that right there is encapsulation. Basically, it's making so that values that shouldn't be changed can't be changed, and variables that should be changed only get changed in the ways they should be changed. For example, if there's a value that's supposed to get incremented only ever and can't be decremented, you basically make it so that it's private. Let's actually make another class in here. We're going to call this one thing. We're not even sure what to call it. So let's start with a few things. We want it to have a field that can't be modified by any classes. Private int number. But this can't be final because remember, we're incrementing it. We have a method that just increments it. Therefore, it can't be final because it keeps changing. So we got public thing and int first number because this is its initial value. So we're just going to have that. So number equals first number. And we don't have to put the this because that's the only thing that this can find that is called number. Now they're saying, make it final. Well, yeah, it's giving a hint that says, make it final. Well, we're going to do a few things. We're going to do public int get number. Why? So we can read it from outside this. So we do return number. Now, in the future, you're going to see that I like using this dot before these. I'm just doing this just to show that it's you can do it without this dot before. But at some point when I'm talking about bigger things, I'm just going to leave a this dot in there and just get used to that. This keyword is such a fun one in Java. And then we're going to do public void increment. And we're not even going to be an increment by, it's literally going to be an increment. So it's number plus plus, increments it by 1, and that's that. We can also create another one called increment. We could also create another one called public void increment by, and we do, and this one gets an int argument, of course, int add, basically it's the number that's being added to this, and then we do number plus equals add. And if I haven't shown this operator before, I might have forgotten to show these back in the first tutorial, or was it the second tutorial? But basically what this means is add this to this and assign it to this. Take this plus this and assign it to this. That's what it means. You can do minus equals, times equals, divided equals. Those are possible. That's what's happening here. And for that matter, we can have this method call this method. We can do increment by 1. And that's okay. We can just do that. So call this method, which calls this method. Now, actually, here's another thing. You can have these have the same name. You might be thinking, but wouldn't Java get confused when you call one of the methods? Well, no. Because when you call this method, you aren't giving any arguments. So Java knows, oh, it's this one. And when you call this method, you give it an argument. So Java knows, oh, it's this one. So Java is pretty good with that. Now, you can't have more. Now, you can't have more than one with the same name and the same arguments, but different return types. Because when you call it, you're not given, because when you're actually calling it, you're not giving enough context to Java, so it knows which of those to actually call. So, yeah, you can have them with the same name, but different arguments. And of course, you can have the same arguments and different names, but you can't have same name, same arguments, different return types. That's just a thing. Also, this is the return type, if I hadn't made that clear before. Basically, this bit here. When the return type is void, that basically means it's just a method that does something. It doesn't really return a value. When you give it a return type, which can be an object, just so you know, that means that it has to have a return statement that has a variable that matches this type. So, yeah, I think that's everything. I think I actually did that quicker than I was expecting to do. Actually, let's finish off this program just so we can actually do something. Volume. And of course, surface area. And all nice like that. That was a slash for some reason. Surface area. And you run this. It gives you these really confusing looking numbers, but yeah, that's what happens with spheres. That's what happens with circles. They get some weird numbers, but let's also create a thing object, which, remember, like I said, you do the declaring with the variables up here. Thing equals new thing 9. I'm actually going to point something out right now. Let's go into this thing and create a second constructor. You can have multiple constructors. Public thing, and this one has no arguments. Basically the same thing as methods with multiple things. That's called overloading, just so you know. Basically, you give it more than one thing. Overloading in coding is not a bad thing. Everything else, it sounds so negative, but in coding, you can overload methods. It's basically creating methods with the same name, different arguments. No different with constructors. They're still methods, right? So, yeah. So yeah, here we are. Technically, its return type is this, and it just has the return statement of this. I hope that explanation made sense. But you can also do something like this. You can do this, and you can put in 0. What this is saying is call another constructor with a single int as an argument. And that argument, set it to 0. So it's like, okay, this constructor right here has an int as an argument. So it's basically when you do this followed by the brackets like this, it says call a different of these constructors. And I just randomly slapped my keyboard and it caused some random letters to appear. That's normal. So I can do something like thing1. We're gonna reference Cat in the Hat now. And thing2 equals new thing. And this one, empty, and you see it works. That one just called that one called the other one. You can also do one that's an empty constructor and gives it a default value. Basically, this is like empty constructor. It's like checks for default values. It's like, yeah, that's a thing you can do. That's what you do with blank constructors. You have default values. Now, sometimes there's things where it's like you have to set a value for this. So don't ever have a blank constructor asking for default values for those. I'll explain more in a bit, but now let's mess around with these. So let's do system.out.println thing1.getNumber and system.out.println thing2.getNumber, and then we're going to do the thing1.increment, and we're going to have nothing happening in there, and then thing2.increment, and we're going to put in, let's say, 10. And this is going to be the funniest thing ever. Watch this. Watch this. System.out.println thing1.getNumber, and then we're just going to do the same thing down here. Thing2.getNumber. This is actually going to be funny because of what I did with the increments. Yeah, basically caused these values to match. I did that on purpose, just so you know. But yeah, that's kind of how packages and encapsulation access modifiers work. Just so you know, there is a difference between these, and I'm going to explain it in the next tutorial. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff where it's like, just basically I'm trying to get you subscribed so you see the next tutorials. And I'm sure you'd want to subscribe to see the next tutorials too, just so you can actually figure out what the difference between having the modifier protected and having no modifier at all means, because there is a difference, and you'll find out. Just so you know, protected allows more access than no modifier does. That is all I'm going to say right now. And also, I'm going to spit out the word subclass and see if you can figure this out. That's all. Anyway, I'm going to save this back in the... This is the desktop, not the documents. Back in the Java tutorial thing. This is Note 10. I haven't done a note file since episode 6. Okay, so we're saving this. And anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked it, please use the like button, share it if you liked it, and subscribe for daily content. And be sure to have a lovely day. Bye. Oh, just before you go, I'm just going to show you like a Minecraft mod. Yeah, that happens sometimes. or I don't have like any really big programs happening here. I think this was just no, this is what I was messing with. But yeah, I don't have any really big things in here still, but yeah, you can get a bunch of packages going with stuff. Actually, before we leave, I'm actually gonna like in Minecraft, this is not the correct thing in here. Like if you go to this SRC thing, yeah, they have they have stuff for everything. So that happens. And like I said, be sure to have a lovely day. Bye.